What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are staying safe and you've been doing well since the last time I posted. Now, today's video is about the Daniel Penny, Jordan Neely, New York City subway chokehold death situation that just happened. I'm going to give you my opinions on this saga that just ended with Daniel Penny's acquittal at trial. Now, we're just going to hop right into this. Now, depending on the news sources you tend to watch and believe, you might believe he was this horrible, terrible racist that wanted to kill a person of color, and that day it just so happened to end up being Jordan Neely that faced his wrath. Now, on the other hand, you might believe that he is this hero that runs around wearing a Batman mask that saves the people of New York because this violent, terrible person was on the subway and he was threatening people, and he stepped up and did his superhero thing. What's the middle ground here? What's the truth? What are my thoughts and my opinions on this? That's what we're going to talk about here. We're going to start at the beginning, and then we're going to go through the whole saga. Now, Daniel Penny was at the time 24 years old, and he was coming home from classes at a city college. He's got his headphones in. He's just chilling on the subway, like I'm pretty sure millions of other people do every single day. They're sitting there with their headphones on, listening to music or listening to a podcast. And the guy's just going about his day, probably thinking about maybe what he's going to make for dinner, what he's got to do the next day, who knows. But shortly thereafter, Jordan Neely gets onto the subway. And according to multiple witness reports, including in the immediate aftermath on the police body cam footage and at trial, Jordan Neely comes onto the subway, he takes his jacket off, he throws it, he starts saying, "I don't have anything to eat, I don't have anything to drink, I'm sick of it, someone's gonna die today, I don't care about going back to Rikers." So he starts spouting off at the mouth, essentially, talking about threatening people and talking all this crazy stuff. And then Daniel Penny, who's in that same subway car, is thinking, maybe I'll move to another subway car, maybe I'll move down. But then he stated, essentially, he starts looking around and seeing the faces of the mothers and the children and the other people on the subway. And he's hearing all of this violence coming from this guy saying, "I don't care if I die. I don't care about my life," essentially. So he decides that he has to act. So he comes behind Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny comes behind Jordan Neely, and puts him into essentially a chokehold. Now, he's not choking the life out of him because you can see that he's not struggling for air. You can clearly see his chest raising and falling. In fact, there were other people on the subway car, obviously, and none of them tried to peel him off of Jordan Neely. In fact, two other people during this whole 5-6 minutes of him holding him were assisting Daniel Penny and attempting to restrain Jordan Neely because he was still fighting to get up because he wanted to hurt people. They were trying to help restrain his arms. And one of them, by the way, is a person of color, which throws the whole he wanted to be a racist and wanted to kill someone of color out the window, because one of the people that was assisting him at certain points of this was a person of color. So about 5-6 minutes go by. He's in this chokehold. So police finally get to the subway car that this happens in. And now police, according to most people that live in New York City, have a pretty slow response time to a lot of things. I've never had to call the police in New York City. I've only been there twice, maybe 3 times in my life. Never been in a situation where I've had to call the New York City Police Department. And I probably never will, because I don't plan on going back to New York anytime soon. And I damn sure don't plan on going to New York City anytime soon. But that's neither here nor there. And everyone in the immediate aftermath of this situation, as the police are talking to him, trying to establish what happened, multiple people said, "Hey, he didn't do anything wrong. This guy was being threatening violence and spewing, like, I'm gonna hurt someone, I'm gonna kill someone, I'm gonna do this, that, the other thing." No one on the immediate police body cam footage said that he did anything wrong. And even Daniel Penny didn't think he did anything wrong, because he didn't run away. He stood there, he talked to the police, he went down to the precinct. He knew he didn't do anything wrong. And then Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, which most people I tend to see that are in New York that talk about a lot of New York City stuff. Eric Adams doesn't seem to be the most popular guy ever. He does he does a press conference, and then the day after the press conference is when Daniel Penny turns himself in at the DA's office. Now, they tried to get charges dropped because they throw a couple charges at him. His lawyers try to get these charges dismissed. It was second degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. His lawyers are essentially going, this is ridiculous. This guy was clearly a threat. He could have hurt women, he could have hurt children, he could have hurt innocent people, and this guy who's a veteran stepped up and was clearly trying to prevent this guy from hurting other people. So he stepped up, he was being a good Samaritan and protecting other citizens of New York City is what his lawyers are arguing. But they go, no, they indict him, they don't drop the charges, and that comes about in January of this year. And then this whole from indictment to trial just ended now in November. Why this trial took that long is beyond me, but it's New York City. It got highly publicized, so they want to, I guess, drag it out and make sure they do things right. But this whole thing, in my opinion, shouldn't have taken this long. He shouldn't have been indicted here. He did nothing wrong. Now, is he this guy walking around with a Superman S on his chest, looking to save the citizens of New York? No, the guy was just sitting there on the subway. He saw a situation in which he's like, okay, this guy is potentially acting violent. He's getting aggressive. He's threatening people. He's saying, I don't care if I die. I don't care if I go back to prison. He decided to act. He doesn't even call himself a hero, so that's why I'm not calling him a hero here. He's just a good Samaritan that in that moment decided, rightly so, that someone needed to stop this person before it escalated to a point where he was going to harm women, children, the elderly, anyone that Jordan Neely could have gotten within his reach to harm or to rob or to do whatever he was thinking about mentally in his head. This is a tough situation, but it's really a situation of Jordan Neely's own design. He steps onto that subway car, whether he was facing a mental health crisis or not. Being mentally ill, especially in the court of law situation, doesn't necessarily mean you don't know right from wrong. You don't know not to shoot someone. You don't know that robbing someone is not wrong. Having a mental health issue or even having a mental health crisis doesn't necessarily mean that you're just free to do whatever you want because you have some mental health issues here. This guy was a guy that had a record. He had over 40 arrests and convictions over the past few years. He understood, hey, I'm not supposed to assault someone. I'm not supposed to rob a store. I'm not supposed to steal from an old lady. I'm not supposed to do X, Y, and Z. This was a guy that was incredibly familiar with the legal system, had run-ins with the law, with regards to other things he did on the subway. And this is a tragic situation, like I just said, but in my opinion, this is a situation that, I'm sorry for repeating myself here, but I think this bears repeating. This is a situation of Jordan Neely's own design. When he steps onto the subway, starts threatening people, starts saying, I don't care if I die, I don't care about going back to prison, someone's gonna die today. And the thing that I don't understand is his family's reaction to this, because they're saying they loved him, they miss him, but my question is, after his mother got murdered, because they made sure to bring that up, why didn't you bring him in? Why didn't you say, all right, we want to give him a place. This horrific thing just happened to him when he was 14 years old. We don't want him to go into the system. We're going to take him in. And even if for some reason, some weird legal loophole that you weren't allowed to bring him in, when he turns 18 and ages out of the system, why didn't you go to him directly and say, like, look, we don't want you to be homeless. We don't want you to be running the streets. We want to take you in. We want to help you to make sure that you're not homeless, so we can help set you up for a better a better future, a better life. Instead of taking him in, trying to do the best that they can to ensure that he has a good future after this horrific incident that happened, they just let him run into the foster care system. He aged out. He ends up on the streets. He ended up doing, I believe they said he was a pretty prominent Michael Jackson impersonator on the streets. They're just letting him do all this, and none of his family, to my knowledge, ever attempted to take him in, ever attempted to seriously get him help, because if they were seriously trying to get him help, they wouldn't have let him be homeless. They wouldn't have let him just run the streets. Now, to my knowledge, I have not seen anything, any legitimate sources that where they said that they attempted to help him, they attempted to get him off the streets. They even attempted to try to avoid him hitting the streets in the first place. Now, I could be wrong there. I could just not see the documentation, but I don't think I'm wrong here. I'm not trying to spew anything here, but in this situation, Daniel Penny did nothing wrong. And I don't know about you guys, I don't know about anyone watching this, but if I had a loved one on that train or on a different train and the same situation happened, I would want a guy like Daniel Penny on that train. So I know if something happens and some guy or girl steps onto that train spewing hate or threatening to rob someone or threatening to hurt someone, whatever the situation might be, I would hope that there's a guy like him to step in and be like, all right, you're not going to hurt him. You're not going to hurt her. You're not going to hurt the people that are on this train or on this bus, wherever it may be. You either got to stop, you got to go, or something's got to happen, because you're not going to do this. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this situation, and if you believe he was right, if you believe he was wrong, what your thoughts are. Be civil in the comments towards each other, because I know sometimes in situations like this, people with differing opinions in the comment section can get really wild. Be nice to each other. And on Monday, I'm going to post another video on my opinions on the CEO shooting that just happened that has everyone divided. So look out for that one. And until next time, guys, have fun and stay safe.